pretty girl.
Hey everyone, this should be an interesting one. Welcome to day 1 with my Wild Mustang. I started this session with matching steps with her. She's not super worried, so I'm just trying to get her attention, and as you can see, it helped her face up, and then she even followed me away. Since I don't really know her well at this point, I don't want to have my back to her too much, and I turned back around and let her sniff me. She was very curious and really sniffed all over my shoulder. And yet again, she followed me up to the fence. She's not too confident with me approaching, but she's definitely comfortable with following me around. She got a little over-curious about nibbling on my face, but she never used her teeth, she just used her lips, so it wasn't too bad. We got another big sniff here. She just does the cutest little nibbles, and I would have pushed her away a little if she had actually nipped, but she just seems to be a curious nibbler with her lip. Coming up to her here, she moved away a little bit, but I just tried to stick with her and see if I could get her attention, and I finally did. I really liked this sniff because she didn't get pushy or anything. I started trying to pet her on her head a little more. I could already tell she was going to be such a sweetheart. She started walking forward and got a little pushy here, so I just raised the whip and asked her to not walk straight through me. I then tried rubbing the whip on her for the first time, which she actually did really well and wasn't too bothered. She had a bunch of flies on her back, so I wanted to help her get those off. She got a little stressed, you can tell because she's holding a lot of tension in her jaw, but she stood and didn't move away, so I gave her a big release. I'm starting to get more confident about petting her, and I can tell she doesn't have any aggressive body language, so I'm just letting her get to know me a little better. I'm trying to work on coming up to her myself a little more, so that's what we're doing here. And I released a lot quicker this time. And she just wants to be a Liberty pony, following me everywhere. I decided to start asking her to move around the outside of the pen some. She's already pretty dull to the flag, so we're going to work on that, teaching her some cues and that sort of thing. Her favorite thing is definitely standing there and getting some loving, though. A bunch of these clips are also going to be sped up to save time. Here I started reaching a little farther back to pet her, and she did fine with that. I reached down behind her withers. I'm just trying out some new things, and here I asked for a pull release. It took her a little while, but there she got it. She gave me a couple here as well. Pull releases are super good for helping them relax. They can hold a lot of tension in their neck, and this helps them release it. I started asking for a hind quarter yield at Liberty. She was a little bit confused, as you can see, but actually gave me a really good one after thinking about it. She is so smart. I asked for another hind quarter yield the other way. She was a little bit more confused on that side, but still faced up to me, so it was pretty good. I asked her to move the other way, and again, she's a lot more confused on this side, so I reward for her little tries. And I asked again, and she finally turned around and went the other way. I started asking for the trot, but that confused her a little bit, so we just went back and started going the other way, and we got it the next time. She has such a pretty trot. Then we went the other way, and she has kind of a habit of turning back around and trying to go the other way, but I just slowly asked for her to go back in that direction, and she went. I do like that she didn't get super worried at the trot. So after moving her with it, I also want her to know the difference between desensitizing her to it and rubbing it on her. So I worked on that a little bit. You can tell she's a little bit concerned, but not too bad. She sniffed it really nice after too, so I like that she's curious of it. And then I decided to introduce her to the halter. So at this point, with her taking everything in stride, I was getting a little bit curious of how she was not really fazed or scared of anything. In fact, she was a little bit too comfortable. I assumed that she was just a confident horse, but I did want to try a few tests. She was absolutely fine for the halter and not concerned at all. At this point, I'm definitely starting to get a little curious of why she seems so familiar with these new objects. So I tried the final test, leading. And she came.
Are you leading or are you just following? I haven't put any pressure on it yet. I feel like we know how to lead. That's not good.
So as you can see, I go to lead her and she knows exactly what to do. Even without pressure, she knew to follow. She got distracted and got a little annoyed at it here.
I honestly can't tell if she's just really smart and following me around or if she knows.
I'm definitely starting to get very concerned.
Somebody has had you then. Oh my goodness. I want to call them.
So I'm standing here wondering, what have I gotten and what am I going to do? At this point, I have no idea what training she's had or what bad habits she's gotten.
I don't know what to say.
So the first thing I did was try to see how much knowledge she had. It appears she does not have any idea of what basic yields are or even backing up. Whoever had her must not have done anything but lead her and pet her. So you may be wondering, how is this possible? Well, if she was returned, they just put her back up for adoption without stating that she had already been adopted. In fact, on her ad, it said untrained, but apparently you can't go by that. So here I was seeing if she knew how to lunge, and she clearly didn't and got super confused. I just stuck with her until she stopped pulling, and then I gave her some slack. So here I'm asking for her to take a step towards me, and she's gotten a little bit stuck. So what I found out is she's been trained to lead, but she doesn't understand pressure a whole lot. So if I ask from the distance, she's pretty confused. So here I'm asking for a hindquarter yield, and she's just really not understanding what that pressure means and starts trying to back away instead. Here she finally stepped under with her hindquarters, so that was pretty good. She is so smart. Once she gets something, she just has it. As you could see, she had a really good one right there. She was definitely much more confused on the other side, and what I look for is for the inside leg to cross underneath her outside leg. She really just kept putting her right leg behind, going the other way, and then backing up, and I found she's much more confused on the right side. That triggered her to start pulling a little, and I just gave when she finally stepped in. She did a whole lot better right here. She had a pretty nice hindquarter yield after she walked forward. So I started asking again on the other side, and she just totally blew up because it was a little too much pressure for her, and she didn't have much experience on the other side. She was pretty spooked by the lead rope touching her legs, and you can see her kind of trying to run away from it. I was pretty surprised she'd never had a dragging lead rope before, but if she was in a small pen, she likely couldn't get away and the rope never dragged. She kept doing these little leaps when she stepped on it, but figured out quickly to stop. Once she was calm again, I came and picked it up and went back to working on it. So again, I'm asking for this hindquarter yield to the right, but she's just really struggling and doesn't know what to do, and again ends up really freaking out and pulled away. She wasn't doing anything wrong, she just got a little overwhelmed and tried to get away from that pressure. She was pretty scared about it touching her legs, but there's nothing I can do. There will likely be a lot of times when the rope is dragging on the ground and touching her legs, and she needs to get used to it and not be scared of it, or it'll be very dangerous to herself and others. And she's just kind of having it out and running around and spooking and trying to get away from it, but it ended up getting wrapped around her leg, which I wish wouldn't have happened, but it untangled pretty quickly. She ran around quite a few times and had some big leaps, but figured it out pretty quickly and started slowing down and learning that it stops bothering her when she stops spooking. Here you can see her trying to bend her neck so she doesn't step on it. She's so smart, figuring out how to keep it from getting tangled with her legs. And I'm just letting her figure out it's not gonna hurt her. She's starting to get it, and you can see her releasing some tension with her lip. She spooked a little bit again and just trotted around, but that's okay. It's good for her to really get used to it by her legs. You can see how much quicker she slowed down this time as well. As I've said already, she is so smart. I decided to go back a few steps and ask for a few steps with her shoulders towards me again, and that helped her get unstuck a little bit. I then tried to do that on the other side, but again, she's just so much more unsure about the other side. I doubt that her previous home did things on both sides, but it's pretty important when you're training horses because they can be totally different on one side versus the other, as you can see right here. She just does not understand yet how to give to pressure on that side, so she just kind of blew up when I asked her to move. But like I said earlier, she's already figuring out things much quicker and only ran one circle before slowing down and stopping. And when she pulls away, I don't really pull against her. I just keep the pressure until she gives some. The halter had slid down a little bit, so I went and tightened it again so it wouldn't be pulling down super low on her nose. At this point, she was pretty frustrated, so I was trying to find little things to reward. And she's just super stuck, so I'm trying to go back and forth searching for those few steps on the front. We finally got a couple, so I gave her a good release there and then went and tried on the other side. She was against the fence, so she couldn't move a whole lot, but she finally gave instead of pulling away, so I decided to end there. So, as you could imagine, we were very curious about what happened to her in the past and what training she'd had. A few days later, we went to the Fort Worth Mustang show and asked a BLM worker if he could find out about her history. They pulled all her information up on a computer and studied it. She was first sent to the Palomino Valley holding facility, and later on was shipped to the Carson City Correctional Facility. It didn't show any information, but he told us that apparently in these types of facilities, prisoners work with them. We had heard of that, but thought they start them under saddle and then adopt them out. It turns out that sometimes they're just halter broken, and BLM puts them back up for adoption without saying anything about it. The only thing he knew is they have a lot of horses and they don't keep track of everything that's been done with them. But since she knows how to lead, it's pretty obvious she's had some training, and it's very likely she went through that program. It was pretty cool to find out about it, as I had no idea, but I'm still kind of disappointed I didn't get a truly Wild Mustang. Whatever the case, she's still a very special horse, and I'm glad I get the chance to work with her. We still have a lot of things to work on and a few habits to break. Well, thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for more videos.